Hello, this is Danae Green here at Transform Consulting Group, and we're on our podcast here, Wine About Your Data, and I am joined again by Sara Gropp, our data manager.
Yes.
How are you today?
Yes, thanks for having me back. I'm doing great. I'm happy to talk about another data topic.
Well, that's good because you're our resident expert here, so we got to bring you in and keep having you tell us all the good stuff.
Yes, happy to.
Awesome. I think we just jump in here today. What wine did you bring us here?
Yeah, I'm from Michigan, I've said before, and so I'm just happy to bring another Michigan wine to you. So this is another one from the Lake Michigan shore, an Albarino.
Nice.
If I say that right.
You're good
I wouldn't
for me.
say I'm a wine novice. I'm more of the data novice. You can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's our featuring wine today. And once again, as always, please pick up a glass of whatever it is you have at home that you want to drink. Soda, pop, some coffee. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe even a high C or a juice box, depending on what you're doing these days.
The other popular Michigan beverage from a brewery, a beer.
Okay. Or a
Nice
beer.
IPA or something.
Nice IPA.
Whatever.
There you go.
Whatever you need.
I love it. Sarah, what are we going to whine about today?
Yes, we are going to talk about visualizing data.
Ooh, and how that tells the story.
It's so important for data storytelling. So who doesn't love a good picture and visualization rather than reading a lot of text and narrative?
Amen to that. I am all about that. And I truly will say, once again, I really realized once I started working here with you all just how important that is. And all the nuances that actually go into that.
Yes.
Not all pie charts are created equal.
Oh, pie chart.
I know. And they all have like different elements and rhymes and reasons of why we use them and when we use them. So I've learned a lot there. All right. So maybe just let's start out with why is visualizing our data so important and helpful?
So in general, I think visualizing data really helps support storytelling. Like you said, it takes a lot of information in text and puts it into a simple visualization for people to understand and quickly grasp and draw their attention to it. So people can use these visuals to make the case for their funding or put it in a social media post, and they should ideally have enough context that people can draw a conclusion or have a wow metric tied to it and make the case for what they need or celebrate. So in general, that's why they're important. And along those lines of pictures help us tell a story and create understanding, I was looking at our wine bottle today, Danae.
Okay.
And I noticed something right away on this wine bottle. And so I think there's data all around us and we don't even realize it in some ways and how visualizations are used. So are you seeing anything on this wine bottle related to a data visualization essentially? And
that's a great question. Of course, you would find data on this bottle.
I know. I'm going to just engrave this in people's minds to look for.
Okay, I think I found it. There's like this line here, and it has a metric of like sweet to medium dry to dry, and then it has an arrow on the dry end. So it's telling me visually that this bottle is a dry wine.
Right. And I don't think I've seen that on every bottle of wine I get, but what a quick, easy way to tell people what they're getting, because I couldn't even hardly pronounce the name Albarino. I wouldn't know if that was sweet or dry or what that means, but that quick visual on the back, I didn't have to read a long description. It's a quick meter visual to tell me
exactly what it was.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
And you even said in the beginning, you're like, I'm not a wine novice. And so if you don't really know all of the things about it, which I don't at all by any stretch when it comes to wine, I agree with you. I actually really enjoy it. And I'm probably not as into the dry as far as the meter is showing.
Yes,
I think I would want to come more towards the middle. However, everybody has different palates and taste buds.
I do know I'm guilty when I go to the store of buying based on a good label, but the extra meter would help me really decide.
There you go. So I guess even data visualization for wine is wine companies, if you're listening, that's what we need. Add a meter. Help the Sarah and Danae's of the world pick your bottle.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's keep going here as we continue to talk about our visualization. So really, I guess, how do we visualize data? Just that's a very general, open topic here. So help us unwrap that.
Yeah. One perspective of how we can visualize data, I was thinking about the deliverable. So what format are we presenting them in? So that could be a report, a social media post, a dashboard, a marketing flyer to promote your program. There are tons of places you can visualize data within versus like long text and narrative. And again, tying to what are quick ways we can draw people's eye to the information you want to share. And then some examples within those could be intentional ways you format text. You could color code text, bold text to draw attention. Like that's a visualization technique. You can also actually do charts. So bar charts, donut charts, tree maps, all the technical term charts, whatever, but just quick ways. And then you also have infographics that I would say are, again, that intentional boldness of text or putting a little infographic or icon that tells me, oh, this is like a little person or a little food item to know I'm talking about a food related data point or something to draw like a connection and just draw their eye.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Even like colors matter.
Yeah. We do like to be intentional with colors where you could do like a gradient or a light to dark situation, like a density. So if there's a higher data point or higher population or something, like the colors get darker with that. Or you can do the stoplight color method where green is good, yellow is maybe let's keep an eye on this, and red is bad. Let's draw attention to this. And there are other ways that I like to use colors with that concept in mind. Even if you have a brand or a color palette, you assign like a redder tone color towards a negative orange or something, or you can still be intentional with any branding restrictions you might have.
Yeah, so it really just gives you that quick hit. Like you can really look at something, start to get your information quickly, and you're not having to read and digest everything. And so that's awesome.
Yeah.
What tips do you have for those who are trying to be intentional with design and visuals?
I think there's a lot to consider within the actual deliverable. Like I said, like what space do you truly have as you're thinking about it? But other than that, like what is the data you want to share? I think when you see an option of all the charts possible in the world, we get, I would call it like chart happy. Oh, this one looks fun. This looks fun. But is this the right chart to communicate your data?
Chart happy? I love it.
Well, if you look at a book that's like best tips for data viz and it's all the chart options of the world and you're like, oh, this is fun, but do people understand it or did that make sense? So yeah. So I think our go-tos, the standard stuff, a bar chart is probably the number one. I think I'll emphasize the bar chart. While we might get tired of it, it is so easy to just quickly draw conclusions of comparison of length of the chart, right? You could sometimes not even have the data number on it. This is the top choice or whatever it might be. Bar charts are a good go-to. And then pie charts are very common. And I would say in the industry, there's mixed feelings of a pie chart.
There's mixed feelings about pie charts.
Yeah,
Tell us a little more about that.
I would say at TCG, we rarely see pie charts from our deliverables, but I think that's Amanda Lopez preference of a donut chart, but isn't that the same thing? No. My thing I like to call out is a pie chart represents like a circle, a whole. So your results should equal 100%. It should equal a whole. And then so if there's a point where
that's not the case.
Yeah, for example, it's select all that apply or the numbers are going to equal beyond that. Think of some context to there, like what does make sense? And so maybe you go back to that bar chart or whatever it might be. So again, just being intentional and understanding the data behind the chart is helpful. And there could also be times when maybe you don't need the whole bar chart. You can call out that top need, the highest need. It's just more of that social media post or marketing material. You don't need all the extra context.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, but the next question I have is how do you add the context even?
Yeah.
And like I think of sometimes a bar chart and then there's a line and it gives me a metric of maybe like the average or a standard that we're trying to reach. And then I can see if we're above or below.
Yes.
I don't know. What other kind of ideas do you have on providing more context with charts and visualizations?
Yeah. I think that is the trick of we see that progression working with some clients where we're like, first, we got to get them to use their data, visualize their data, and then let's take it a step further to support storytelling. So like the so what in a way. If my data is telling me we're performing this way, is that good? Is that bad? Like how do I compare to others? So we're looking at adding in a state or a national trend where that line you're referencing could be that. It could be, the line could be a goal, like something you're trying to reach. One of our projects that we're on, they have annual compliance metrics. And so they have like quarterly lines. So they know at this point in the year, they need to be at this point. And so that reference line is there for them. So it's like that little bit of context. We're going beyond just visualizing the one data point to know if we're doing well or not.
Yeah, because you could have the chart filled out for quarter one, but we don't know if it's meeting it or not meeting it. But if you have that line,
Right.
then you start to know you got to pick up the gas a little bit and start moving forward.
Exactly.
And I hadn't really thought too much about it, but you're right. Like bringing in like national standards or other kind of data points to give us that full picture and context.
Yeah. And how helpful, like other than compliance, but if you had a national comparison to go to a funder and say, this is how well our program is doing, and this is how we compare to other similar programs or the nation, and you're outperforming that, amazing. Why would your funder not want to support that? And so it just, like I said, takes it that step further.
Yeah, I have to admit, one of the projects I've done, and I've talked about them more than once here at TCG and even on this podcast, and they're local in Wabash, and they had one chart and called it the money chart.
Yeah.
I actually talked about it at lunch today with all of the team, and it was one chart that they were able to really show the value of their program to a funder and really increase their funding by quite a bit. And they were a small nonprofit who was really trying to like make that next step. And so it is. I always chuckle because it was the money chart.
Yeah.
So that data visualization chart is their money chart.
Yeah. And I think I love like that connection and the aha in a way, because I know behind the scenes there was probably so much data and information, but it can just take one good data point, one strong data point.
Yeah, and it really was referencing like community and other community data too. Like it was like what is our issue that they were solving in the community, and what did it look like in the surrounding communities, and how did that compare?
Yeah.
And so it was that contextual data that like saved the day for them.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sara, if you were going to kind of get people started in this data visualization world, what would you have them do? What's a tip to get started?
Yeah, maybe, look at the ways you're currently visualizing data or not, see what data and information you have, and think about the story you want to tell. And once you're like really ready to visualize data, I want you to feel comfortable that you don't need a super technical tool to do that. So
Great point.
You can create visuals in Excel. So you have a couple data points and they have a literal chart function and a drop list of those options, like your endless options. So you could create bar chart and it will somewhat populate it for you. And there's some things there that help make it feel a little bit easier. And then of course there's other tools like Canva probably, or online, make me a bar chart or something. So I think there's options, and it doesn't have to be so formal and feel like intimidating to.
We don't have to have your entire Tableau experience and all of those technical skills to get some visualization and really to get the goods out of it even.
Right.
Obviously, there's all kinds of ways to use data and to continue to do that at a higher level. But in general, you're saying you just need to start.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have it all figured out when you start.
And then I'm sure once you even start showing data, that's what prompts people's questions. And so they're going to say, oh, tell me a little bit more. Or they're going to prompt those context questions we talked about. And then you can update your data or visual and add those things for people to support the stories.
Oh, I love that. I'm actually working on a project right now. And that is one of the things. They were actually talking about their board reports.
Yeah.
And every single service line was sending in these reports. Some of them can be a little dense at times. And they were really asking, he was even saying to us, the CEO was like, I hope moving forward, we can start to bring in more charts and more visualizations and not just have just narrative and bullet point form of words. So even just on the basic stuff for our board members that they're working with, he was really pushing that data visualization long term. So I'm excited to see where that project goes long term.
I don't want to go down another rabbit hole, but that's a great another tip is like thinking about the audience.
Ooh.
Your board, they need quick facts, right? Like they don't have time to read all that. Not that they're not interested, but quick facts. So think about that audience as you're also thinking about your chart and where it's going.
Perfect. That's great. Sara, thanks again for jumping on and talking a little bit about visualization. And we do a lot of conversations around data storytelling. And I think this is one of those key areas that is just a continuation of storytelling.
Yes.
And I love that we're bringing a little bit of the tips today. So once again, all of our transformers out there, we just thank you for tuning in and we appreciate you coming. Join our live Facebook group. And you can hang out with Sara. She is more than happy to answer questions. So join us, engage, and we'd love to continue this conversation. Thanks again for everything. In the meantime, cheers to you.
Yes,
cheers to you.
Cheers. Looking forward to hearing from everybody.
And keep transforming the world.